It passed the Senate. They're calling it progress, but what it really is retreat. A tactical withdrawal, quiet surrender dressed in the language of governance. They'll tell us it was necessary, that ending the shutdown was a responsible thing to do, but responsibility without conviction isn't leadership, it's survival. And survival is not the same as purpose. 8 Senate Democrats crossed the aisle and voted to advance a Republican funding bill, stripped of health care protections, stripped of leverage, stripped of principle. They gave up their only bargaining chip to reopen a government that's been suffocating under its own dysfunction. They'll call it a victory for normalcy, but normalcy is exactly what broke this country. They didn't compromise. They gave in. And in that giving in, they taught everyone watching that you can trade away the health of the poor and working class for a few hours of good press and a headline about bipartisanship. Well, that's not leadership. It's cowardice. It's the kind that doesn't make noise but corrodes from the inside out. Hakeem Jeffries said Chuck Schumer is still an effective leader, and of course he did. His wagon is hitched to that same tired horse, and both of them are lost in a fog of self-preservation. They've mistaken proximity to power for the possession of purpose. They walk in circles with their heads turned, convinced that holding the gavel is the same as holding a vision, but power only serves you when it serves those without it. When it stops serving them, it starts consuming you. So this was never about fiscal prudence. It was about ideology and money. The Affordable Care Act works. Too well, in fact. And that's the problem. It reminds people that government can function for the good of ordinary citizens. It gives working families a sense of dignity, some breathing room, a way to live without fear of a hospital bill ruining their lives. That's poison to a party that survives on convincing people that government is the enemy. And behind that ideology is the money. The insurers, pharmaceutical giants, and healthcare lobbyists who spend billions each cycle to make sure no matter who's in charge, their profit margins are untouched. Keeping ACA subsidies in limbo keeps markets uncertain. It keeps premiums rising. It keeps frustration aimed at the party that once promised relief. It's brilliant if your goal is power, but it's monstrous if your goal is humanity. They'll tell you they did it for the people, that they ended the shutdown to keep paychecks flowing, to protect federal workers, to stop the bleeding, and maybe some of that's true. But the real story is exhaustion, moral exhaustion, masquerading as pragmatism. After weeks of headlines and donor calls and pressure from the business class, the Democrats did what they always do. They pretended to be the adults in the room while the other side set the room on fire. They believed the moral high ground would shield them, forgetting that morality without willpower is a Sunday school lesson, not a strategy. And the party fractured. Progressives said hold the line. Moderates said reopen the government. Leadership said nothing that mattered. And when they finally acted, they acted like caretakers of the status quo instead of defenders of the people who trusted them. Republicans didn't just win a policy fight. They won the narrative. They forced Democrats to blink first, branding them weak and disorganized. They reframed the shutdown as a Democratic management failure, even though Republicans caused it. They got to claim the mantle of responsible governance without conceding a single goddamn principle. So yes, buckle up. It's going to be a hard year. The insurance industry will tighten its grip. Healthcare premiums will rise. Families who were promised stability will find themselves back in the same cycle of anxiety and debt. And all the while, both parties will point at each other as if blame can fix a broken leg, but maybe there's something sacred in the hardship ahead. Maybe it's the year people remember what courage is supposed to look like. Maybe it's the year we stop mistaking civility for virtue, because the truth is, this wasn't just a failure of strategy, it was a failure of soul. The Senate Democrats who voted yes didn't just surrender their leverage. They surrendered their reason for being there at all, so remind them. They took a knife and drove it into their own credibility. And so we end up here again. In a country where power has no direction, leadership has no courage, and purpose has been replaced by the instinct to survive another news cycle. But make no mistake, survival is not victory. Leadership means choosing the right fight, not the easy one. It means refusing to give in when every donor and every pundit and every consultant tells you to fold, it means remembering that power means nothing if it doesn't lift the powerless. And if this is the best our leaders can offer, then it's time for new ones. Because a tactical withdrawal is still a retreat, and you can't lead a nation forward when you're always walking backward. Defiance till death.